Most folks see the water's gone muddy and they turn the truck around and go home. I've watched it happen my whole life. A big rain comes through, the bayou turns the color of chocolate milk, and every fair-weather fisherman on the water packs it in, certain the fishing's ruined. And I used to think the same thing when I was young. I'd see that brown water and my heart would sink. Then, one spring, my grandpa took me out the day after a hard rain, water so muddy you couldn't see your own hand 6 inches down, and I told him we were wasting our time. He just smiled and said, "Bo, you got it backward. This ain't the bad day. This is the easy day. The fish just told you exactly where they're standing. Now go get 'em." And we had one of the best days of catching I ever had as a boy. So, today I'm going to fix the thing most beginners get dead wrong about muddy water. My name is Bo Landry, Cajun, born and raised in the Louisiana Bayou country, 30-some years guiding these waters, and down here, the water goes muddy on you all the time. So this is a lesson I've had to know cold my whole life. Muddy water isn't the end of your day. Handled right, it's the best gift a lake can give you because it takes the fish and jams them into little spots so obvious you can put your hand on them. I'm going to give you 3 tips today, and every one of them is about turning that muddy water from your enemy into your advantage. Stay with me. First, what muddy even means. Let me clear one thing up before we go, because muddy means different things to different folks in different parts of the country. Up north in those clear rock and weed lakes, a fella calls it muddy when he drops from 20 feet of visibility down to 5, and the water gets a little chalky. Down here in the middle of the country, and in my bayou, muddy means muddy. Chocolate milk, brown as a paper bag. And the water I'm talking to you about today is the real thing. Less than 6 inches of visibility. Sometimes you can't see a foot down. That's the water most folks run from. And that's the water I'm going to teach you to love. But I owe you one honest warning first, because it's the exception. There's a difference between muddy water and fresh mud. In the spring especially, after a hard rain pushes new dirt in, you'll see water that's got a gritty, silty look to it. Little grains of silt suspended in it, almost like the water's got sand floating in it. That fresh, silty, just stirred up mud. That's not good. Near about anywhere in the country. The bass don't want it. That silt gets in their gills when they breathe, and they hate it. So they either swim away from it if they can, or if they're stuck in it, they lock their jaws and hunker down and won't move to eat hardly at all. So learn to tell the difference. Settled muddy water, the smooth brown chocolate milk kind, that's your friend. Fresh, gritty, silty mud that just got pushed in. Leave it be and go find water that's had a day or two to settle. Now, with that said, let's talk about how to clean up on the good muddy water. Tip 1. It's all about water displacement. Here's the first thing you've got to understand, and it changes every lure choice you make in muddy water. In water this brown, a bass can barely see. So he stops hunting with his eyes and he starts hunting with his body. A bass has a line running down each side of him, the lateral line, and it reads movement in the water, vibration, displacement. When something moves through the water and pushes water out of the way, that bass feels it through that line, plain as you'd feel someone walk up behind you in the dark. So in muddy water, when his eyes are near useless, that's how he finds his meal. He feels it coming, which means your whole job changes. You're no longer trying to show him something pretty. You're trying to give him something he can feel from a distance and home in on. So you throw baits that push a lot of water and throw off a lot of vibration. A big square bill crankbait, something like a 2.5, that bumps and wobbles and shoves water ahead of it. A chatterbait, which throws off that hard, thumping, erratic vibration I've told you about before. That bait was near about made for muddy water. A spinnerbait with big Colorado blades, those round cupped blades that beat the water hardest of any, or big willow leaf blades that flash and thump. Every one of those makes a commotion a bass can. Feel and track right to the hook, even when he can't see 3 inches in front of his face. That's what you want in the brown water. Noise, thump, displacement. Leave the finesse baits, the little subtle stuff, in the box for a clear day. In the mud, subtle is the same as invisible, and invisible doesn't catch fish. And I'll tell you a little trick within the trick. Slow down. A lot of beginners in muddy water crank that loud bait right on through fast. Same speed they'd fish it clear. Don't. In the mud, you want to slow that bait down and keep it in front of the fish longer. Give him time to feel his way over to it and find it, because he's working harder to locate it than he would with his eyes. Slow enough that the blade still turns, the chatterbait still chatters, but as slow as you can keep it working. You're giving a blind fish time to come to the dinner bell. And here's the part most folks never think about, and it's the one that'll separate you. The size of your lure matters too, because a bigger lure pushes more water. I'll never forget hearing about a tournament on the Sabine River over in Texas. Muddy water, and one of the pros there couldn't catch a thing on his regular little Texas-rigged worm. Why? Because it was too small. It just didn't push enough water for the base to feel it in all that mud. That little worm slid through there quiet as a ghost, and the fish never knew it passed by. So he sized up, went to a big, bulky jig with a fat profile, and that bigger bait shoved enough water coming through that the base could finally feel it and find it. And he started catching them, in the same water where the little bait caught him nothing. So in muddy water, don't be afraid to go bigger. Fatten your profile. The bigger it is, the more water it moves, and the easier it is for a blind bass to feel it and eat it. In clear water, you go subtle and small so you don't spook him. In muddy water, it's the opposite. You go big and loud because he'll never even find a little quiet bait. Remember that, because it's backward from everything else you've been taught, and it's dead right. One more thing on your bait while we're here. Color. Since the fish can barely see, you want colors that give the strongest, boldest silhouette in that dark water. Dark colors. Black, blue, a black and blue jig actually show up as a stronger shape against what little light gets down there than a light color does. And a lot of muddy water fishermen swear by chartreuse, that bright yellow-green, and by anything with a red or orange to it, because those cut through the brown better than most. But don't overthink the color. In muddy water, what the bait does, how much water it moves, how much it thumps, matters 10 times more than what color it is. Get the vibration right first. Colors, just the tiebreaker. Tip 2, the fish get tight to cover second tip, and this is the one that makes muddy water such a gift, because it tells you exactly where the fish are standing. Let me paint it for you. I've swum in muddy water. Opened my eyes a foot down in the brown, and you know what I saw? Black. Nothing. Just dark. That's how little a bass can see in that water. Now, think about your own self. You're standing in a room and somebody flips the lights off. Pitch dark. What do? You don't wander out into the middle of the room. You reach out and find the nearest wall, the nearest solid thing, and you hug it, because knowing where one thing is gives you your bearings and makes you feel safe. You feel your way along it. A bass does the exact same thing in muddy water. His lights are off, so he finds the nearest solid object and he gets tight to it. I mean, right up against it. Right up on a stump, right against a dock piling, pressed onto a rock on the riprap. He's not roaming around out in open water like he might on a clear day, because out there in the brown he's blind and lost. He wants something solid at his side. And that, my friend, is a beautiful thing for you, because it means you know exactly where he is. He's not scattered. he's welded to the cover. So you fish the cover tight. When you flip a laydown, you don't just fish around the edges of it. You put that bait right in the heart of it, right against the trunk, right where the thickest wood is. When you fish a dock, you put it right on the piling, not 3 feet off it, right on the rock, dead tight to the solid thing, because that's where he's holding, pressed up against it in the dark. An inch matters here. On a clear day, a bass might chase a bait a good ways to eat it because he can see it coming from across the flat. In muddy water, he won't, because he can't see it coming. So your bait has got to pass so close to him that he can feel it right there beside him. That means accuracy. You've got to hit the cover tight, over and over, and put that bait in the exact spot he's tucked into. A cast that lands 2 feet off the stump might as well be in another lake, because he'll never know it was there. And this is why I love muddy water for teaching a beginner. It takes the guesswork clean out of it. On a clear lake, a bass might be anywhere, and finding him is half the battle. In the mud, he's got his shoulder against the nearest wall, same as you would with the lights off. You already know where he is. You just have to put the bait on him. Fish the wall, the wood, the piling, the rock, and fish it tight and fish it slow, and keep your casts accurate. That's the whole tip. Tip 3, they're shallower than you'd ever believe. Third tip. And this is the one that'll shock you, because it goes against everything your gut tells you. In muddy water, the bass are usually way, way shallower than you think. Here's what fools people. A lot of the time, you get muddy water in the spring, and in the spring, the water can still be cold. I've fished muddy water that was 45, 46 degrees, cold as a well bucket, and your gut says, cold water, the fish will be deep. So you fish deep, and you miss them completely, because those bass are sitting in water so shallow, their backs are near about sticking out of it. Less than a foot of water. Sometimes 6 inches. I've seen it look like they were beached. 2 reasons for it, and they both make sense once you hear them. First, same as tip 2, a bass wants something solid to orient to, and the surface of the water is a solid ceiling he can put his back against. Up shallow, he's got the bottom below him and the surface above him, and he knows right where he is. Second reason, and this is the big one, muddy water warms up fast. That brown water is dark, and dark absorbs the sun. So on a sunny day, that top few inches of muddy water heats up quick. The mud soaks the sunlight right up and turns it to warmth. And in the spring, a cold bass loves that warmth. He'll slide right up into that thin, warm layer on top and sit there soaking it up like a dog in a sunbeam, even when the water a few feet down is still cold. So when you fish muddy water, fish the shallowest part of every piece of cover you come to, right where it meets the bank, right where it breaks the surface. Fish it all the way up to where it's just inches deep. Now, I'm not telling you every bass in the lake is going to have his back out of the water. That's not it. But I'm telling you a whole lot more of them are up shallow than you'd ever guess. And beginners miss them constant. They're out there flipping 3, 4, 5 feet deep, throwing a spinnerbait through water over their heads, and the fish are sitting a foot off the bank behind them, warm and happy. Don't be that fella. Start shallow. Fish the skinny water first, putting the 3 together. So look at what muddy water actually did for you once you quit being scared of it. It told you what to throw. Something big and loud that pushes water because he's hunting by feel. It told you where he's holding, tight against the nearest solid cover because he's blind and wants a wall. And it told you how deep, shallow, way shallower than you'd think, up in that warm top layer soaking the sun. 3 questions that'll stump you on a clear day, and the mud answered all 3 for you. That's what my grandpère was grinning about that day when I was a boy. He wasn't tougher than the muddy water. He just understood that the mud does half your work for you if you know how to read what it's telling you. A clear lake makes a base hard to pin down. He can be anywhere. He can see everything. He's spooky. Muddy water takes all that away from him and hands it to you. It blinds him, it pins him to cover, and it stacks him up shallow. That's not a hard day. That's the easiest kind of day there is, once you know. Here's what I want you to do this week. So here's your homework, and I want you to do the opposite of what your instinct says. Next time it rains hard and the water goes brown and everybody you know says the fishing's shot, you go. First, before you tie on, check your mud. Is it settled and smooth like chocolate milk, or is it fresh and gritty and silty? If it's the gritty, fresh stuff, give it a day or two to settle, or go find water that has. If it's the good, settled brown, you're in business. Second, tie on something big and loud. A square bill, a chatterbait, a Colorado blade spinnerbait, or a big, bulky jig. Something that thumps and shoves water so a blind bass can feel it coming. And don't be shy about sizing up. Third, fish tight and fish shallow. Put that bait right against the wood, right on the piling, right on the rock, dead tight to the cover. And work the skinniest water first, right up where the cover meets the bank, even where it's just inches deep. Fish the spots everybody else floats right over. Tell me down in the comments what your water looks like when it blows out after a rain. Is it chalky? Or is it full-on chocolate milk like my Bayou? And come back and tell me how you did the day you fished the mud instead of running from it. I read every single one, and the stories you send back teach the new folks more than I ever could. Until then, don't fear the mud. Fish it loud, fish it tight, fish it shallow, and remember what my grandpa told me standing in that chocolate brown bayou all those years ago. This ain't the bad day, it's the easy day. The fish just told you where they're standing. Go get 'em.